So he should have passed tomorrow, but I need to
However,
post it. And
people have gotten some, including members of our.
I don't want to do it. It's not.
I do too. Okay.
Can't really.
No, we think
This is.
call to order meeting for the Mendon Conservation Commission today, as you can tell on that's the calendar, is December 26th. This meeting is being recorded. We do not have anyone online, members of the commission online, so we do not need to take roll call votes as requested. So we will start with the attendance. Ms. Carl Holland, chair.
Steve.
Susan Cahalan-Meister.
Leah Whiting,
Mike Amandoli.
And our conservation agent.
Isabella.
So the first item on the agenda, a notice of intent for 75 Blackstone Street, DEP number 218-0863. This matter is being continued. Is this at the request of the applicant or because of their application?
If the applicant requested to continue, they don't have evidence that they're not within the riverfront area, and they also haven't paid their fees.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion or something on the motion sheets.
I will make a motion to continue the public hearing for 75 Blackstone Street, DE number 218-0863 until the next public hearing on January 9th.
Is there a second?
Before I second that, do we have, did they submit a updated print showing where it's gonna be?
We have the plan of the driveway, do have the plan, but they don't have the riverfront area for Spring Brook on that. So they either need to prove it's intermittent or update the plan.
Does the original plan show 2 driveways? Is this the second driveway?
The first driveway is existing, yeah. And so the garage is on the side of the house, but the driveway is not.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of continuing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Our next meeting, second Thursday, in January. All right, we'll now move on to the reason for why we have this unexpected meeting. 23 Cape Road, DEP number 218-0838, reviewed the sedimentation event on December 11th, the rainstorm, and the corrective actions taken by site owner. And do we have anyone from the Blue Water here? Okay, so Isabella, if you can go through the report, I see we have some interested people online, so I'll reach and see if you want to make any comments after Isabella's report from the commission thoughts.
So Blue Water hired DePret Engineering, who was a company that originally submitted the stormwater report. Each commissioner has the report in their packets. And so the engineers went out and reviewed the different stormwater controls, and they identified a number of items. The main one being that the discharge location number 50 FES 71 was letting out murky water during the storm on December 11th. And so they've taken time to inspect each catch basin, reinforced all the perimeter controls, and they added flocculent logs to clear up the fine particles that were causing the discoloration. And those have all been installed. The second point they identified was that the perimeter controls were overtopped. So they reinforced all the silt stocks and added additional silt stocks as well. Repinned all the silt fences, and they placed flocculent logs in strategic locations along stormwater, the erosion controls there as well. And then the northwest swale and sediment trap, they added multiple stone check dams along the swale, added silt stocks and perimeter controls around those as well, and they reinforced the stone spillway to hopefully prevent any further sedimentation on the site.
Did they have a plan for mitigation going forward, cleaning up, restoration, whatever they have to do to get the silt out of the wetlands?
So their report says that the very fine particles did not settle out in the wetlands.
Yeah, the wind in the street past the neighbor. Heading to Rhode Island.
Based on the sidewalks by the contractor, any significant site erosion or sediment deposits down gradient of the limit of disturbance. Therefore, no remedial activities are necessary in the western wetland. The primary goal of the stormwater controls moving forward through the construction period are to prevent finer particles from migrating from the disturbed site, from the lack of coarse sediments observed within stormwater flowing out of the flared end. The underground stormwater system is functioning as planned and will result in stormwater quality in conformance with town and state requirements moving forward.
If you could repeat maybe the first sentence there, it was like no significant, what's the key word?
Based on the site walks by the contractor, we did not find any significant site erosion or sediment deposits down gradient of the limit of disturbance.
Significant sediment deposit. So that means you gotta go downstream. And is a quarter of an inch significant, Mike? An eighth of an inch? I don't know.
Isabella, have you done that?
I'm not,
Because you gotta go under the leaf. And then it's like, which storm are we talking about?
Mike, did you have an opportunity to visit the site?
Not yet.
I'll cover it, nice.
The question that I will have as a follow-up for this is they do a good description of what they have done since the storm event, but they did not in the report address the second question I have, which is why was the existing stormwater management system overwhelmed? And they're a big company. They spent a lot of time before us, the planning board, coming up with the system. Why was it not able to make this, which didn't even make a 500-year?
It was not a big storm.
it was 3 inches.
And is
We've
that
had
considered a
worse.
100-year storm in the current standards?
3 inches of rain is pretty good.
Right, but it's not a 100-year storm, certainly not a 5. I don't know what they're supposed to design for. Is it 50-year storm, 100-year storm?
They designed for a 100-year storm. I requested during the hearings, if they go for 500.
Yeah.
They said, yeah, no, we don't have to, so we're not
I
going.
even gave them a product to use and they turned it out.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Do we have somebody here from Blue Line? Okay.
We can ask
So-
them to come in at our.
Okay. So these are the questions that are still remaining from this whole process in my brain. When they purchased the property, did they know, were they aware, was it in the purchase, whatever it was it disclosed to them that there were issues with the wetlands, with stormwater?
I'd like to refer that until after we talk about the December storms. We can follow up with the conversation.
Okay.
If you have other questions?
Yes. Well, they're all, I just want to know what happened beforehand. Why didn't they take this seriously? Why are we here again?
Well, this is the first time Blue Water has had a storm event, so that's why I'm looking for an explanation from them as to why they didn't engineer sufficient.
Right,
Sounds
but
like-
Carl,
It sounds like the fines overwhelmed their system, the regular silt they had managed. So the question is, should we have had an expectation back when we did the public hearing a couple of years ago that they would have been able to manage the fines? And that's where I look to, like, or maybe we get a peer reviewer coming in and saying whether they should have known that this was going to be a problem for us.
but in answer to her question, and it was kind of up to us 3 years ago when we first went out there and we saw sediment in the wetlands. The fines had already gone down, the super fines. What I saw in wetlands, I don't know how thick it was semi-fines. Now, do some of those migrate with the next storm? Do some of those get covered up? And then 2 years later, they buy this. They don't have to be told that there is. They know full well, it's public record that there was this instance. They own it, but they're going to say it's not significant. And it's up to us, I guess, now to document, no, here's the layers, and this was from 2 years ago, and here's last year's storm, and I don't know if that's possible to do.
Well, but that was supposed to be cleaned up this summer.
It was supposed to be cleaned up by whose note? That would be up to us to, we
No, we
avoid
did.
asking people to clean up silt out of the wetlands, because usually you make
Yeah,
more
we're
problems.
actually, ordering the previous owner of the current owner. Do that, that's something I want to address after we talk about the December storms. So the first question I want to address is, we have photographic evidence from the abutters and from our own agent going out saying what looks to be superfines going off the site. So the immediate problem is, what are you going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? So I want to make sure that people are comfortable, maybe Mike and Isabella arrange a sidewalk where they go out and listen to their story about here, we were successful in preventing heavy siltation. We have taken the following steps as listed in the report with black box and everything else to keep the very fine stuff from going up. If we're comfortable with that, then we'll have a second discussion about what to do about the existing silt in their property. So are there other questions about the December incident? Yeah.
Like being in construction like you are, you have the opportunity to experience a large fills and whatnot. Would the type of material that they brought in have any bearing on the superfines and the silt transference of events?
Yeah, material, again, if it's a very fine material, you only need a little bit like that to scour an area the size of the floor.
And with all their construction work, would that have picked up more fines and silts along the way as well? Things that had already settled, but then there was digging, there was construction, there was all kinds of things.
But I haven't had a chance to go out there, obviously, because I've been frozen for the last 2 weeks. But from what I understand, the thaw is coming this weekend
This weekend, yeah.
And more rain.
and more rain, so I think next week is a good time
So here's my next question.
to go out there and
Yeah, I'd like to go
Observe
if it's
things.
not frozen.
If there is another siltation event that we get reported by the neighbors or observations, is there a way someone can go and take a ladle of water out and say whether it's superfine silt or heavy silt coming off?
I think there should be zero silt, first of all.
I
Just
agree.
think-
Where you take the label out of the settlement,
Yeah.
and even then, it's like amazing TSS that is actionable. You know, you go and see this, but it's,
Okay,
I would like for the wetlands not to be siltated again,
right,
ever. I'm through with this whole thing. We've let this happen.
That's-
and
Honestly,
if
we
Mike
need it
is
to be hard.
working and maybe is on the job, can we schedule maybe Monday or Tuesday, a potential meeting? And I know you can't make it, but we gotta get out there, many eyes, right? So,
well, next Wednesday's a holiday.
okay, well, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, that's a nice vacation.
My intent, I'm working in Franklin, my intent is, it's gonna be raining, I've been watching the weather because it's affecting my project. But when it's raining the hardest, I plan on jumping in my truck and driving up.
That's time to see it.
It's 8 miles away, if not even, and driving down in there. I'm just a little further down on 140.
do you want to try and arrange that with someone from Graves or someone else from water staff?
Graves is working.
Okay, so do you want to work, schedule and see if you can meet with one of the site engineers?
I'll try to, again, it all depends on what's happening
Okay,
on my project, you know.
Okay.
If I can just say, okay,
I'm happy to go out there at any point.
And like another question, in your experience,
Ones are-
they're reading through
I got paper.
the information packet that they sent. They're saying that they do have
Oh,
the,
You go and you shoot.
the drains, they have the protective coverings on them, to try and mitigate the silt. And they now put, stone berms around them.
Yeah.
So they're trying to stop the silt, and I understand that, so there should be no more reason for silt. So,
There'll always be silt until they get pavement and grass growing. There'll always be some type of silt running off the side of the road if it's not paved.
And it's a big catchment area. And if it's all coming down to one fast basin, it'd have to be an acre big.
So it's, again, I guess from what I see of the pictures, it's changed quite a bit since the last time I was down there.
yeah, it's-
And the drainage patterns shifting on.
Did they say they were gonna be here tonight, Isabella, or did you? Okay.
There
Oh, hydrology's changed.
it's holidays.
Yeah,
It's not-
this week and next week, again, in the industry, everywhere.
A lot of the
in the construction.
We're here.
industry, rough.
All this
Allows
doesn't
them
show
to-
because we wanted to make action on this. And so we don't need them to be here necessarily to take action, but it would be.
So on the agenda, we've now reviewed the report. Any other comments or questions about their grades report?
No,
Okay.
nothing is good
That
about
was
that,
great. That was from their end.
whatever it
Okay,
was,
sorry.
whoever's engineer.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the next question is consider issuing an enforcement order specifically about the event. We're not going to talk about the existing wetlands yet. The silt in the existing
Well, I'll
wetlands.
make a motion, because I don't want to have more sediment in the,
Well, before we make a motion, I want to have discussion, is consider.
Do you think we should have someone like DeShane go out there and give us his opinion
So
on the silt, how much silt is?
you're saying a peer review might be advisable, okay? Other.
I'd agree.
Because our opinion will be challenged in a court of law.
Okay.
right,
We have
but
a
right now,
professional.
they're not taking it seriously. You said when you were here last time, Mike, that if they didn't show up today and take it seriously, that we were gonna give them an enforcement order.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, wait until, Mike, are you going to respond?
If we're going, I'm all for giving them an enforcement order, but let's make sure all our ducks in a row. Again, I don't have a degree and I have practical knowledge. Peter has practical knowledge. The rest of the board members have some practical knowledge looking at the silt. But if we get a report that says, okay, here's what it is. I mean, there was a question, what did you ask? What is too much silt?
yeah, what's significant?
So we have a professional tell
But
us.
we can still issue an enforcement order and get them to have a peer review. That can be part of the enforcement order.
Okay.
And they can pay for it.
Peter's turn.
Mr. Chair, I think we are well within our rights of issuing an enforcement order. Now, what is the terms of the enforcement order? I would say at ASAP, we should get someone like DeShane out there to help us guide what the terms are. But no, there will be no more work in this downstream area until we're satisfied that things have been done. They've submitted a report now saying what they've done. We will go out as quick as we can. That's why we scheduled this night's meeting. So we can go out and then put some teeth in the enforcement order or details with professional guidance.
And if I'm not mistaken, I read this report, part of their plan can't be achieved until they get their northwest wall up.
The final grading or
Now, they're putting the building up now, putting the slabs up for the walls.
Tilt up construction.
And they have the crane in the way of being able to get their riprap and whatnot in place.
Oh, well.
So it's part of that, they can't even do yet.
Right, and I wouldn't want to disturb that detailed construction as long as we can maybe know not on this site or this site work can't be done until. We have a question from that audience.
Crane was moved today.
Oh, it was?
That's in my backyard. That day that you walk down by between the solar, I'm standing in my kitchen window waving at you guys. This is all in my backyard. The water comes down from the soccer fields in my backyard. We get all this, and I know Talbot Farm is the one that's complaining about the silt. I just get water rushing by.
You guys have the stone wall that, now it's mushy and mucky there, right?
My yard.
So you say a lot of water comes down off the soccer field?
In this, a couple of years ago, when there was a lot of snow, they plowed the soccer fields. That were paved, that weren't supposed to be paved, but they plowed it and all that snow was there. That melted and it all came down. And we came in, my next door neighbor, Jerry Bullock, and wasn't there was Brittany too. We were sitting there, the water is just rushing by us. And they said, well, it was because of this, it was because of that. It's because the snow's melting and it's running down into our backyard.
We had a lot of snow then, we had.
So, I mean, you just sit there and tell, we've told you and complained, and people tell you there's water there and it's coming down. But nobody likes to listen to us.
If I remember correctly, when the other gentleman, before it was sold to the new owner, as it now, didn't we go through this?
Yeah.
And say, hey, we gotta find out where the water's coming from?
He was complaining it came sideways. I never really bothered.
And here we are, a year later, with new owners. The water has not stopped coming off the soccer field.
I don't think it's coming sideways from, but I don't know.
I live down, soccer field's up here and it's coming down this way.
But it's also coming down the other, it's also coming down from 23 Camp Road. That's a huge slope that runs down there.
And the difference, one
I
is
suspect
got grass on it, the other
I'm gonna do
doesn't.
my usual thing of separating out different things. We're talking about water that is on 23 Cape Road. What the people in the audience are referring to is water that is not on 23 Cape Road, but it is in fact south of our parcel that we're talking about along Edwards Road. And as I said back when we were talking about this a couple of years ago, unfortunately, that's not jurisdictional for the Conservation Commission, because it's not within 100 feet of the wetlands, it's not within 200 feet of the river. It's the planning board issue, or if it's affecting your septic system, it's a board of health issue. So that's why I can hear your concerns and say, yes, this can have evidence that there's now a river where the stone wall is supposed to be, but it's not something this committee can take action and go back to the soccer field and say, manage your stormwater.
I'd like to hear Susan's thoughts on this because she's a geologist and I feel like you know a little
Well,
bit
is it
more
about Edwards Road runoff or 23 Cape Road runoff? I would like to stick to the 23.
She was
Cape
gonna say something. I want to make sure she gets her.
Oh, well, I mean, you know, obviously the hydrology, and both are getting changed right now, but, with all the complaints and all the silt and the, of all that happened before, when we're trying to figure out if it's coming from 23 Cape or it's soccer, or a combination thereof, I literally highly suspect that there's a perched aquifer underneath there as well. So,
What's that mean?
there's a hard pan from the Lodgeman Hill water, special water runs over it underneath.
So it might go sideways because it's hanging up, and if you break into it, it could go sideways.
Because I could just, it's a lot of places around town, so.
If there's a lot of rock there, then there's not a lot of soil to soak up any.
Well, yeah, Lodgeman Hill basically, is the
Yeah.
ground flower and the. That was a suspicion because I could kind of feel or hear water like. I'm sure that that's all been rearranged now, but. I don't know how that affects anything, but I'd like to go on the next walk, but I have to.
Yeah, because the
Well
groundwater's not too deep there, though. I don't know if
No,
there's
it's
any,
not.
I don't think there's any confining layers. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I've never had seen boarding walks there. But I also know that we've, at least I was asking for a specific, if they could have a better stormwater system. Shut down.
Just by looking at some of these pictures, there's been a considerable amount of wall. Looks like it's about 30 feet high. So you're adding 30 feet of fill. You're adding 30 feet of fill.
Mhm.
You're changing the hydrology there anyway.
Was the new owner invited to tonight's meeting? And did they respond at all?
They said they would not be coming, but to forward any questions and they'll get back to us. That's right.
Okay,
So,
I'd like to-
I think Leah brought up a very good point. So I'll make a motion to, send out an enforcement order, cease and desist our work.
I second
So they
that.
come here with a plan to control their
A
They
second.
have given us.
I don't think it's a sufficient plan, and they've done nothing about mitigating the siltation that's happened in there.
So they identified that they didn't believe they had to, that's what's in the report.
I think the peer review, it was more very helpful as well.
Okay, I'd like to check in, we're moving to a motion, I wanted to see if people online wanted to make a comment, the same as we've heard from people in the audience. And, I see a hand raised, so definitely, go ahead.
Hi there. I unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, please identify yourself and your address.
Christine Buchhold, 14 Talbot Farm Drive. We're the abutters that share the boundary with 23 Cape on the western eastern edge. And as a reminder, our boundary goes from close to where Witten Road is all the way down to the solar panel field. And that boundary lies right in the middle of the wetlands. And for over 2 years now, I've been sending you documentation at least 8 times that I've documented. There's been more of this property silting the wetlands. And I'm curious as to why this Conservation Commission treats 23 Cape differently than all the other properties that I've watched you, address in these meetings. And I've been watching some of the videos the past year and I'm seeing enforcement orders, but never once have you issued one during all this time. And that is why they did not clean up the silt. You never issued an enforcement order to the previous owner. And now it's happening again with a new owner who was supposed to be, well, I won't. It's still happening. It doesn't stop. And yet you don't really take any definitive action for this property. I'd like to know why.
Thank you. I see Jimmy Degler is on. Are they here for this matter? Or next one? Okay. All right. Any response?
I think,
Well, I just made a motion to put an enforcement order up there.
Okay.
I believe it's been seconded.
Okay.
So I think the next action is that we vote on it and have our commissioner,
Agent.
agent
Okay. So
get it out to them.
Isabella, do you have enough information to write an EO?
I have one drafted.
Okay. Can you put it up for us?
is it in this packet, Isabella, or no?
No.
We do need some language in there as to why the insufficiency of their current efforts. Put by
That sounds good.
yeah.
That sounds good.
Keep it simple.
The activity that is warranting the enforcement order is discharge of sediment into the Mill Plain Brook associated 200-foot riverfront area bordering vegetated wetland and 100-foot buffer zone as a result of ongoing development on site, discharge of turbid water from overflow and failure of the temporary retention basin, multiple check dams, and layers of silt fence and straw wattles. And then I have marked that as an activity subject to order conditions 218-0838. Resource area alterations resulting from said activity shall be corrected and the resource areas returned to their original condition. A restoration plan shall be filed with issuing authority on or before, and then I said February 1st, but that's up to the commission to choose a date. And so the assessment, removal, restoration of all wetland resource areas, including Mill Plain Brook, 200-foot riverfront area bordering vegetated wetlands, 100-foot buffers.
I would like to see repetitive instances in your first line.
I like that word first. 6
Yeah.
weeks.
That's good.
Because it's been 3 owners now. We're third owner now. It's been a problem from the number one. Owner number one had the catch basins that kept overflowing, and then they put the hay bales around them and the silt fence, and the check dams, I should say. And then the next owner came in and stripped a bunch more vegetation out and created more problems. Now we're on owner number 3.
I didn't put in a cease and desist because I would be afraid that, you know, we want them to move forward and get further along, but if we want, you know, the more work they do, the less might get in the wetlands, but I put, attend the next Concom meeting on the January 9th.
Can you put
That's
language in it that states, stabilize the site as opposed to put the building up? Site needs to be stabilized to avoid any further wetland violation.
Yeah, before any more construction continues.
I can put whatever you guys want,
Well, does that?
but I mean, they think it is stable based on the report, so I would want maybe
They thought it was stable
Suggestions.
before 3 inches of rain.
And that
suggestions of what you
brings us
want
back to a peer review from Duchesne or equivalent.
What would the process be of having them, if we get it, asked for a peer review, do they pay for it? Do we have a fund that we pay to Shang and then get money from them after the fact?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is the same thing we've run into before, and I would suggest time is of the essence, and we should pay for Duchesne, because we
Okay.
want someone now, next week, as opposed to.
Okay.
I would also potentially suggest that you guys hire Duchesne because this has been a 3-year problem.
And look at your soil borings, find out how many times it's been disturbed.
Okay, so part of the motion to have an enforcement order would be to direct our agent to contact Shang and see if they're able to do a peer review of the site. What's the scope of what Duchesne would be looking at? Existing sedimentation and the most recent December plans to.
Historic and current facilitation problems.
So, and what would it be his recommendations?
Okay,
To improve.
If any?
For control of the site and for storing,
Because he might say the sediment that's in there will do more harm getting it out.
Mhm.
That's what we want to know. We want a professional opinion. Personally, I think it'd do more harm. But then again, I'm just my commander. Shane's.
yeah, it's a question of whether we want people to go in with machinery or by hand to remove the existing couple
Right.
inches of sediment, or just wait over the next 30 years while it slowly washes downstream.
Unless there's more sedimentation that comes down.
well, that for sure is, no, we're looking for his input to control the site.
Yeah.
And also a recommendation of whether it's going to continue to travel through storms.
Once we get him involved, and we keep him involved, so he can
Okay.
track and see if any more, I said, we've got a storm coming, 3 or 4 days. There'll be another storm sometime at the end of January, I'm sure. The sooner he gets out there, takes note of it, and then we keep him going out there to track it.
Big concern is the freeze and thaw. Everybody knows that when the freeze and thaw comes, that's when the mud comes, that's when the fines will move the most. So that's why it's good to get him involved now, because in March, April, this could all happen again.
Okay, I don't want to mention Duchesne specifically in the enforcement order in case he's not available.
Right, somebody
Find an alternative.
like, yes.
So the EO language should contain that we are going to be engaging a peer review, and is there boilerplate language to say how they would be asked to pay for it?
Well, I would say if you want, the other thing I drafted was for them to nominate a commission, to the commission, a qualified wetland consultant with 5 years' experience for Thursday, January 9th. And then the approved consultant would prepare the wetland resource impact plan.
That's their proposal. Your proposal is to have Duchesne or another person do it before that.
Professional engineer.
I would ask the Shane first.
Okay,
If he's unavailable, then we go with
Go with
that.
that, plan B.
Well, we have people that we've used before. I'm not gonna ask the fox to guard the chicken.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Mhm.
Don't ask the people with the
So
problem.
we've used the Sang, we've used the Allen, I believe they got an office right up across from the
Yeah,
old
the new one,
Parkman
yeah.
Court. Shea Engineering,
So then does the commission want to hire DeShane themselves, or do you want to require them to pay for it?
they will eventually pay for it.
I would rather have it going now and hire,
Right.
so.
So the
With
proposal would be
understanding
that
of reimbursement.
that we would engage DeShang or another peer reviewer to do the first evaluation on site and then work with Blue Water on an ongoing relationship with them paying for a peer reviewer.
Yes, that sounds good strategy to me. It's like a plan to restore might be bigger than what we think, or it might not be, or, it's all done.
Okay. You have enough of a sense of what's expected to be able to craft language.
Well, I guess if it's, because my only fear with putting that they have to pay for the peer review is this is what we thought about the last time we required it, is it's unclear in the Wetland Protection Act whether we can require peer review under enforcement and not during the application. So you're less likely to be appealed for the enforcement order if you're not requiring them to pay for a consultant and you pay.
So I thought that was a
Commission's
big motion that,
Right, that we,
that we're gonna pay for it, and then in a week or by the 9th, we're going to decide
We'll have
whether
a
going
discussion with
forward,
them.
if we have
Okay.
to hire someone else, in which case they're gonna pay for it. Or we're going to continue with the Shang and we're going to continue to pay for it. Out of our-
So
so then I wouldn't put the peer review portion into the enforcement order, because we can send whoever we want on the site.
okay, do we have money in the budget to pay for
Yeah.
in the next 2 weeks? Okay, that's taken care of. The next question that I've heard people talking about is a partial or complete stop work order. Discussion on that, please.
Stop.
I agree.
Gets
I
their
don't want-
attention.
Yep. and I'm-
I would agree. If somebody come up to my project and said, you gotta stop, you pay attention right away.
Exactly.
As it's been said in this board before, you try to be nice, and when nice doesn't work,
Obviously, you did.
I mean, they had
Yeah,
every opportunity to be
great point.
here.
I thank you for reminding me. It's all coming back to me. I did say if they didn't show up, then.
And that's why we're all
It's not
here
like the
today,
state.
is because we thought it was an issue worth ruining a long weekend for.
I
So
got,
then it would be
what's next?
the issuing authority hereby,
Okay, hold on, Isabella.
the issuing authority hereby orders the following property owner, agents, committees, and all others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and resource areas. So that's not,
Yeah, that
Statement
would allow
that the
them to
entire
truck in
site.
and out, yeah. Works for me.
Do we put in language saying they're allowed to continue work that's involved in mitigation and remediation and keeping it from happening in the future?
Yes, that should
Yes.
always be allowed.
I think we should make sure that it doesn't.
So exactly what is the work that we're having them stop within 200 feet of the wetlands?
All site development,
Within 200 feet or on the entire
all site
multi-acre site parcel?
they use the existing roads to bring in trucks for construction, but I wouldn't want them moving dirt around, right? For site.
I think it passes moving dirt around. They're putting the building up now, so they should be past moving dirt around.
Well, then,
They're still moving?
Say that one more time, I didn't hear you. They're still bringing it there. Okay, okay.
I also read on Facebook that they were doing some work last Saturday. Did you notice what they were doing then?
Yeah.
They were doing construction work, okay.
they can work on
All I
site.
could see is the
Oh, I
walls
know.
going up. And I didn't know that they were allowed to work on Saturday. I don't think I've ever heard them on a Saturday. Saturday.
Okay. So I'd like to get a little bit more specificity in what they're supposed to not do anymore and what, before they come to a meeting, and what they are able to continue doing on site.
No earthwork except for that, or site development, except for that which is needed to repair, emergency repair. So they can bring in construction materials, they can build walls, but they can't backfill walls, they can't raid around said walls, they can't. I don't know, is that clear enough?
You say we just stop?
Stop.
I like Mike's idea.
Stop.
I like your idea. If
Yeah.
you shut the whole site down, they'll be more apt to
Yeah, it won't be so,
Um,
it'll be too confusing, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
remedy it.
If they don't, then this, we get the state involved.
Because then someone would actually have to go there to see if they're actually doing
Right now,
certain spots or not.
it's a gray area. They can do this, they can't do that, they can do this. Now we can argue about, well, this, that. Stop everything until the problems are controlled.
Mhm.
Let them tell us.
Yeah, that's it.
We don't like what they say, then we'll bring the state in.
I've thought that from, you know, some of the earlier discussions is it's their responsibility to prove to us that the problem is solved, not our responsibility to hope it's solved.
Move the question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so to clarify, the motion is to issue an enforcement order, not saying anything about peer reviewing, but we'll have a second motion to do that afterwards. And for an overall stop work order. Are you comfortable, Isabella? Do you know what kind of language to put in there? Okay.
Site-wide stop work. Can you do a site-wide stop work order?
Yeah,
No.
sediment in the wetlands, you can.
Okay, so any further discussion, input from the audience online? Okay. All in favor of the EO as on the platform, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, chair, so motion passes. We'll now move on to a formal motion to engage a peer reviewer. And our first choice would be DeShang, second choice, Allen or Shay.
Engineering, I believe.
You want Allen and then third would be Shay? With the goal of, we would ask them to be on site as soon as possible and be prepared to come to us reporting on the existing December event and the remediation work that's been done since then, and preliminary observations on the sedimentation in the existing wetland area and how to remediate.
Do you need a money not to exceed, or are you just gonna, she'll engage, or they'll proposal, or an hourly cost, they'll do this, and they'll share?
I'll look to you for budget considerations. How much money do we have? Is it going to be an issue?
Not to exceed.
It's not an issue.
Okay, we have a lot of money. We have a lot of money in that account.
For the, at least for the first 2 weeks, and then we
It's
can.
not an issue.
The reason is because we don't normally spend money out of this account, so it's been accruing for the past dozen years.
Right. But
just
I
look at
believe the
spend-
bottom line is that account will be reimbursed by the.
Yes,
So I would just want a motion for me to solicit peer review or engage with peer review.
Right.
on Go. So,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So it passes unanimous. So, yes,
So if we observe them putting up putting up the walls, which I assume are blocks that they're stacking, should we call in?
what you should do is make sure that you're able to talk with Isabella. Isabella, can you let the abutters and neighbors know when the EO has been sent and what the effective date is? It'll be effective tomorrow. So
So we shouldn't see any work going after that.
Hopefully not. If
They-
you do,
if
document it if you can, pictures.
Yeah.
yes, if you see it, definite Friday, they're still probably going to be processing it, and the people in Connecticut are going to go say what and decide what to do about it. But it definitely, if you observe anything on Saturday, if you provide evidence of that and send it to our email address, that'll be useful for future action. Yep,
Okay, like I said, I saw this afternoon that the flame was gone. They started to go out of the kitchen window, because they moved it around the corner somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still there, it just moved. Because they're building, I think, the south wall now. They already did the,
These walls are going up very quickly.
yeah,
That's the idea.
That's great. They're expensive to hurt damage.
Tilting up construction.
I mean, it's awareness. It's,
okay. I believe that our engaging the peer reviewer addresses the issue that Leah and Christine made about dealing with the stuff that's been there for the past couple of years. Do you believe we need to take further action at this point, or are you comfortable waiting until we get DeShang or another reviewer coming in and giving us input on how to best deal with the sedimentation?
I think we need to get DeShang in there.
Okay.
and To get his thoughts.
Okay, so
Make sure that's in the scope.
so we don't need another EO specifically to telling them anything about that area. We can defer that for a future meeting. Any other discussion or topics dealing with 23 Cape Road that people wish to bring up? Okay. So we'll now move on to agenda item 6, Providence Street Culvert. Review request for an administrative approval for geotechnical borings along Providence Street in support of the culvert replacement project. Okay, yep. Thank you for waiting.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. Hi, good evening. My name's Jeremy Degler. I'm a environmental scientist from Ty and Bond, and tonight I'm here on behalf of the town. As was said, for the Providence Street Culvert Replacement Project, over Springbrook. This project's adjacent to 110 Providence Street. We're looking to do 2 additional borings within the existing paved roadway to collect additional data for designing the culvert replacement. This will occur within floodplain, 200-foot riverfront area, and the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW and Inland Bank. We're requesting that the Conservation Commission determines that the proposed exploratory boring work does not require the filing of a NOI or RDA. The borings will be done using a truck-mounted drill rig, 15 to 25 feet below the surface. Spoils generated will be used to backfill the boreholes. Any surplus spoils will be placed in upland areas, in vegetated areas, and then stabilized. There will be erosion control along both sides of Providence Street. I can share my screen to show that.
you all have. it in
Thanks
your
for coming.
packet.
thank you for thanking us. Thank you for listening.
Aye.
So what size holes? 1 inch, 2 inch?
Yeah, I think for the impact calculations, we said 2 square feet for each borehole, but that was just being conservative. But yeah, it'll be about 2 inches.
Where are you gonna core the holes?
Goes to around there.
Roadway?
Yes.
Yes, within the roadway, correct.
Okay, it's not like you gotta push gravel into the wetland to make a building. You didn't.
Yeah, nope, nothing like that.
You show on the map where any leftover fill would be getting deposited, where in the uplands?
It would be either to the northwest, kind of past any of the BVW areas. We're not anticipating necessarily that any of the surplus is going to be left there long term. Any spoils are going to just basically be put on a tarp in the roadway until they're done with the borehole, and then just basically filling it right back in.
Is this something that'll take a single day or multi-day?
It'll be a single day, correct? Unless they run into unforeseen mechanical issues or anything like that, but it should just be 1 day.
There's no lunch here.
That'll determine, yeah. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that this should.
Hold on.
I have a question.
Susan had a question.
Yeah, quick question. How deep are you going and are you doing bedrock pouring or anything like that? And if you are you doing drive and wash or what's your methods or?
Let's see here. I do have that information. We are going 15 to 25 feet below surface grade, or
Okay.
until refusal is reached. If refusal is reached, a 10-foot rock core will be taken, as time allows, with split spoon samples obtained during the penetration test procedures.
You understood that, I hope.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything we need to be concerned about?
No.
Okay,
I
And-
believe what they're looking to see what kind of materials down there that's gonna support the construction that's gonna be on top of it. Before they go. Am I
Correct.
correct assuming that?
Absolutely. Yep.
and will someone from the town, Isabel or someone else be going out after the work to make sure that things are okay? I expect.
Yes, as far as I know, and we'd be happy to have anybody come out and check it out.
Okay, so, there was a motion made. Is there, by Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. That just for everybody or just for me? Everyone, okay. Agenda item 7, review and accept Trask Road donation, otherwise known as Salt Box Road. Isabella?
This is a parcel being donated by Jane Lowell, the site plan in between Peter and Mike, and it's, I'll pull it up.
Oh, you're gonna have this, Peter?
Man of white here.
He points to where the parcel is and he still sees that open.
This is Overdale Park. This is Old Salt Box Road. Is it Belt Road or?
Or it'll be-
Oh, sorry.
So it's that rectangle there in the middle, and it's abutting town property. We own the big parcel, 50 acres. Right, and so here's a little bit easier to see. So here's Misco and North Ave. So going down Hopedale Street, we're talking about this parcel here.
You got it?
So
Okay, so this is the road. This is what the town was given, all this. So Lowell's are giving us what, this lot?
It's not the lot, the road.
The road, okay.
It's a road.
Oh.
We'll flip the
Oh,
road.
so, okay. Hey, it's a good thing for the town to.
It's actually beautiful.
Liabilities.
What?
So the-
Where's Neck Hill Road?
It's good.
So
lighting up
this is Hopedale Street, the north end.
Be nice for the town.
So this is the old house that Trask gave in town. And the guy's got a life estate on it.
Oh,
So just beyond that is that old cart path. Who owns?
Yeah, there's lots of car paths back there.
Where the cart,
So the-
well developed.
Yeah.
Beautiful road.
Um,
Walking. This.
Paris drafted the deeds and there were a couple of people who had passed, so Anne is working with Karis to get the deed updated and signed by Jane, the zonator. The select board already voted to accept the land and is looking for the commission. And since the commission would be accepting it as a gift, it doesn't have to go to town meeting.
Nice. Okay, I make a motion to accept the donation of Old Salt Box Road parcel ID 3-230-11-0.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
this is what they don't being given, not spending any money.
Donation.
All right, all in favor?
Free, it's for me. It's not what they say.
Aye, I'm in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item number 8, 31 Northbridge Road, review complaint about work occurring with 100-foot buffer.
So this is a complaint that was submitted to me for, activity within the buffer zone. The neighbor came and complained and submitted some photos, but the photos are a little confusing, but so it's this property here on Northbridge Street. This long one, it's owned by Jeff Duplessis. And his mom lives here, too much information. And so this parcel, and then he owns 9 Forest Park Drive, and so he's further developed this trail into more of an access road to get to his backyard because he can't drive into the back, and he's working on landscaping. I spoke with Jeff and he said he's landscaping in his backyard and can't access because of the pool and the septic system, but he's planting trees. And he also did some vista pruning of trees that had branches that were threatening to come down.
What kind of permit? Sorry.
This system.
Oh, this is, okay.
Which, so long as you're outside the 50-foot, you are allowed to do under the Wetland Protection Act. And so I thought this road had been pre-existing when I spoke with Jeff, and it took me a couple weeks to actually get on the phone with him because I was sick and then it was Thanksgiving. But so I had understood, I thought this road was pre-existing, but going back, it looks like the road was put in 2020, and so there are 2 stream crossings. One here,
That's bad.
so I think there's a culvert in here on this intermittent stream, and another one here
Do you know
on this
what that
intermittent
is?
stream.
Did he put the culverts
So he
in?
purchased the property in 2018. So it looks like he put it in. He said the bridges were pre-existing, but the neighbor submitted a culvert. But it doesn't look like it's just a bridge.
So he's been amenable, so would you go on a site walk? Is that the next step?
So
Said road? Or we
so
should? Or I don't know what's up.
I've called him back to schedule a site walk, so I'm waiting for that. So I think a site walk, and I think he should submit a notice of intent for the crossings. And I think it is a notice of intent because it's a culvert.
Now, would that have to be engineered to be, or is that just a cart path road that would?
No,
be-
if it's just for his purpose, it's not.
It's already in, so. It depends on what the commission requires.
Sounds like a sidewalk is a good first step.
How do we get
The
it?
landowner does have the ability, right, to be able to access what he builds or does.
But if you're crossing a stream, you need to do the,
Yeah,
You just can't throw any,
can't throw a culvert in.
without having an engineer to accept the flow. That means gonna generate. Right, Bob?
I agree,
Right,
I agree.
sounds like some past history there. All right, so,
No, I've
so,
never had stream problems.
so the
Just
next.
about every other one.
So our agent will will reach out and schedule a site walk, and we will invite members of the commission to attend. When you're having the site walk, if there's a quorum attending, please don't deliberate. You can make observations, but don't start haggling or
Making recommendations.
Yeah. meaningful look.
That's mine.
Any further discussion about 31 Northbridge? Okay, moving on.
31 North.
Moving on to discussion, agenda item 9. Discuss funds for commissioners taking Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commission classes in spring 2025. Isabella?
Susan wants to take all 7 of them.
I'm a lifelong learner. what do you think?
So that'll be about $800, $900.
500.
I don't want to be greedy, so if anyone wants to.
Okay,
So we have
Support your vice chair. You get
$657 left in the general fund for training. Susan wants to take 7 of them, which is $455, leaving $200 for fiscal year 25 in the general fund. So depending on how many more training opportunities or how many people want to go to the conference, we may need to either go into the wetland protection account or ask select board for training money. So I didn't want to buy all of Susan's classes and not let the commission talk about it if they.
I think we should buy Susan's classes, and if we all want to go to the commission, we get the money somewhere, but let's.
Okay, I've taken all the classes, so I've had all of the training. Are there other people who want, Bob, have you completed your certification?
I've never gotten any paperwork that says I have.
You should, call them up and see whether you're missing a piece of paper. Maybe you want to sign up for a class or two.
I would like to get signed up on classes.
I can give you the MECC contact and you can check in and, because you might be missing one or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, they're all virtual.
yes. Okay,
Leah?
I gotta pass at this time only because I'm not sure what health wise, there might be something that gets in my way. I may have to have a surgery, so I just would, not, I don't want to, yeah. I don't
I
want to
can read
commit
it.
myself to anything in the spring until I know more.
what is the date of the spring conference this year? Is it April, March?
But that, I think the fundamentals are also.
Yep, they run for,
I think one's, I think it's
Still
third
want to
January.
keep it. Something.
Shut the computer down.
okay. All right, so by all means, go spend the money, and if we exhaust our training budget, that's just a reason to get a larger training budget for the future.
Mhm.
All right, moving on to agenda item 10, updates, chair updates. Something I will direct the attention of committee members on. 133 Cape Road. There is a large folder in our, pardon?
North Ave.
Sorry, you're right. Yes, 133. I've got Cape Road on the 133 North Ave. There's a large folder detailing the past action. Most recently, we have a request for determination of applicability from, is it Guerrero and Hanlon? Goddard. We are not hearing that tonight because we agreed with them that we would be, we have scheduled with them to pair at the second meeting, the first meeting in January before we scheduled today's meeting. My request is that everyone do their research, look at the report. The presentation that they've made in the RDA is they are requesting a negative determination. They've gone through and carefully provided evidence saying that the work done on the site is subject to permissible use under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Mendon bylaw. They give documentation saying why they believe the work that has been done on site is part of an agricultural exemption. They talk about how the work that was done on the site meets, it is such that they did not feel they needed to ask for Conservation Commission action, and they're just doing it now because we're poking them about it and they want to stay on good terms with us. Susan, you will be in the audience for this, but as you saw me doing for 134 North Avenue, you can provide input from the audience.
So yeah, I was wondering if I was allowed to like review and comment on that.
You will be doing so as a member of the audience.
Okay.
So what would happen is I do the, we as in a butter. So we would have the usual presentation from the applicant, questions and comments from the commission, and then I entertain things from the audience.
Okay.
And that's where your input would be heard. You would not be voting on this matter.
Right.
But you can put, and you can, you'll have read the report, you
Yes.
can ask questions. about the report.
Yes. So what I would like to have people prepared to do at the meeting is, do you disagree with any of their factual representations? Do you believe that no, especially for people who are abutters and have been observing the site for 10 years? Do you disagree with them saying that work was done in a certain fashion on certain building where they did not build a brand new building, but they instead restored an existing building? That's one of the questions of fact that we would want to hear input on. Something we will want to consider is they went and took the wetlands that was on the south edge of the parcel abutting your property, and it's now a granite-filled drainage ditch. Their stipulation is that it's a permissible activity as part of farm improvement. One of the things we will want to think about before then is, are we going to agree with that, or do we want to disagree with it? And I'd like to make sure that we are ready with these questions at the meeting in January. I prefer to either, I don't want to continue to the second week in January. We have all of this time to review it, and I'd like to have one of two things happen. Either we accept Goddard's narrative and we say it's a negative determination and they're okay with the parcel, or we say, no, we disagree with your narrative and we wish you to come back with an NOI.
Mr. Chair, when can we go and see? It's like this, because that's usually where you can tell. I mean, it's not a plan, but looking at it.
We had one site visit, however, the person there was not, he showed us the site, but wasn't able to answer the questions. Now that they have their narrative and Goddard has presented this very lengthy report, I think we can schedule a site visit, and then we can have someone from Goddard going through and explaining their narrative while pointing things out.
What property is this again?
This is 133 North Avenue. It's across the street. The big barn,
old barn.
the big barn where they had the Santa land. What's happened is it's definitely agricultural use. There's now a very, very nice set of blueberry bushes that have been planted in there.
And there had been historic stream that kind of got.
Well, it was a stream. Yeah, Muddy Brook is definitely on the border, bottom of the parcel. One of the things in the narrative is saying that the work that they've done within 200 feet of Muddy Brook is allowable under agricultural use exemptions. And that is one of the questions that we will have to evaluate for ourselves and determine whether we agree with that narrative or not. So we're not going to deliberate further on it, but this is just my giving you all homework, because I want to not let this parcel drag out, because that will lead to higher likelihood of Mass DEP coming in with another superseded unilateral work.
Not that.
It makes things messy.
I'm just.
All right.
being sarcastic.
So that's my point on the conservation agent, my chair update. I will have something else for items in 48 hours in advance, but before that, we'll go to the conservation agent report.
Too much. I've been working with Anne on the trails at Muddy Brook and Maple Farm. The Board of Health voted to request that 4549 Uxbridge Road do additional well sampling on the 1-year anniversary, so May 1st. That letter out this week for the developer. And then 44 Uxbridge Road, which is the marina with the septic system, they're done. So members are welcome to go and view it and see if the swale is functioning. They'll have to submit an as-built and a COC. They haven't done that yet. But
Would they have planted the swale or was it?
the swale is stone.
Stone.
Do people want to go out maybe this weekend and watch the rain flowing through it and off the
I think
roof?
we'll get an official COC at one point.
Okay. Are people interested in going out to that site this weekend?
Someone, I'll try to get up there.
I'm gonna be in New Jersey.
Somebody goes out there, take a picture.
Okay, if you can notify them that if they're okay with, or notifying them that people might be going on.
I told them.
Okay, cool,
You need to stop by any of this. It's with the permit on it.
right. Okay, any other actions?
I had a photo of it though. But it was
Ooh, that's
frozen.
good. Yeah.
Thanks.
So,
As the marina, the pavement right up to the building, and then the swale is all.
Swale's here. In front of the BMW cattails.
Where goes cattails.
So that'll catch the Taft Ave. Old Taft Ave
Better
runoff.
than nothing, right? What was there?
that's snow and ice there?
Yes, on the blacktop. Nice new black melts that snow real quick.
Looks like there's ice melt on there.
My knee,
That's just
my knees, my ankles
drift.
say, no worries for me.
Well, that's a question. Well, there would be no restrictions for ice melt, or I don't know, not a new order of conditions, we might consider that, but I don't know. So
Ice
it's
is-
a safety concern, so.
Well,
More sense.
It's their driveway. It's their safety concern, not ours.
It's our lake.
Yeah,
Route 16 is sand and salt,
Yeah.
and the drainage system goes into there.
Direct shot, right? Yeah.
How can we tell him not to put sand on there when the state is running by there dumping tons of it? Right?
It's the sand I don't mind so much, it's more the salt. I think that's what they're going for. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't they restrict that anyways, their water bodies? I'm not sure.
Only if you
The drinkable
put up,
ones?
you gotta put up your 2 bits and complain about it and you make a court case.
You do salt areas.
So forget it.
Yeah, well, so,
Forget I asked.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just one thing before we close the meeting. When you do the minutes for tonight's meeting, please include the abutter's name and address. And try to get. I'd like to see it word for word in the written minutes.
With her comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I do have,
Because she has given us many images in the past. It should be in the folder, right? But
okay,
yeah, it's
I
all email
want,
through.
I want to be able, I want to document that she was saying that we would do.
okay. Agenda item number 11, review and approve minutes. I'd like to table this into our next meeting. I haven't had a chance to look at all of them.
and there's a lot of them.
we've got history.
This is,
I have a packet there, Bob has the other packet.
Yeah.
If you want it printed, but
I've already looked at it. I'm ready to vote on.
I'd like to wait and get a chance to look at them.
These are all in our files anyway, right? I saw them.
Well, are other people comfortable voting on it at this point?
I am.
I wasn't in most of these,
I
so
wasn't either.
I'm comfortable.
Susan?
I had a chance to read them.
Accept all those meetings.
Well, okay, Susan and I have not had a chance to review them. That's 2 out of the 4 people who would be voting, so I think we should delay this.
No problem.
Okay. Moving on, I'm going to skip over 12 and go to 13, items not reasonably anticipated. There is a Chapter 61A withdrawal letter notification that we received earlier this week. We're not going to deliberate on it at this point. Isabella, can you bring up that
I
email?
was planning to have.
Yes, but just so people can know that it's coming.
So 35 Hartford Ave West is withdrawing from chapter 61A, so the town has 120 days.
35.
So what does that mean? They're
That
coming
means
out of,
they're pulling it out of chapter 61A, which is a program where land gets tax benefits for having either agricultural or forestry products being grown. And so it's a way to reduce development and offer tax incentives to folks with a lot of land.
okay,
So when you want to sell to a developer
Yeah,
or
pull it
you're
out.
planning to develop it yourself, you're pulling it out. And so they'll have to pay back taxes and whatever, but the town gets.
Go back 5 years on the taxes.
10,
And is it 10 now?
10 years.
And the town has the first refusal.
So you have 120 days to, if the commission wants to go after the property,
It's in the,
you can vote to do it, recommend to select board that you want to invest.
when you say go after the property.
Aye.
Buy it at the
It's-
price. Do we know what the price is? or-
yes, yes, a developers in the plan is to build 4 houses, and it looked like a single driveway for the 4 houses, which
Ooh.
means the planning board might have something to say about that. But But in the email is the packet from the
I saw
developer,
that.
who is someone who we are familiar with. And so this is another thing that you might want to review. Since we do have a 120-day clock, I expect that various town boards and agencies and staffers will be getting together to discuss, do we want to come up with $500,000 to keep this property from being developed? It does abut an existing piece of town land.
What's the?
So can you bring it up on the map?
Harper East.
Hartford.
So this is the right turn where you go down Bellingham Street, so it's the open field with the old barn.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's been
Oh,
out there
yeah.
for a long time.
Oh.
That's right across the street.
Oh, that is a beautiful old
Yeah.
house. That's-
So it's
So-
a big
Is that near
field
the
and
airport?
Muddy Brook comes through here and we own this parcel
Okay.
for some reason.
Except for the box in the middle. Yeah, so what would happen is the houses would be up where the cleared land is. There would be 4 houses and a shared driveway.
Okay.
The land south where Muddy Brook is would not be developed. That's the current plan.
That's off of Bellingham Street?
No, this is right before it. So it's,
Hartford.
So is that where the gas transmission
yeah,
hub is?
the gas transmissions.
That's Kelly's farm?
Isn't it?
Cahill.
Cahill.
Oh, we see a corn there.
Was there
Oh,
a
yeah,
greenhouse
yeah.
house there that kind of got taken
Yeah,
down?
there was.
Okay.
Oh, they had great corn.
So this is another, be prepared to
There's gas.
have a conversation about this. I expect that because it's a potentially sensitive site, ours will not be the only board that is involved in conversations about this.
What makes you say it's sensitive?
It's adjacent to an existing town property, and we'll see if there's sufficient interest in the town to meet the purchase price.
Agricultural land is few and far between in this town, but.
Or fields. I see the center.
Yeah, that would be, I could see a ball field or something going there. We don't have the biggest area of, ball.
Be unfortunate that would be the senior center because it would just divide the town center so much.
Okay,
I don't like the one driveway thing. That's how you,
well,
stack them in.
that's a planning
Stack
board,
them, whatever.
that's principally a planning board issue, and we might have an input to planning board.
Yeah.
Zoning, right, the zoning aspect, and, all right, anybody want to talk about agenda item 12, good and welfare for the commission, something you want to talk about?
Doing a great job, Carl.
Okay, all right, agenda item 14, motion to adjourn.
Peter,
So moved.
Is there a second?
Make a motion.
Now let's
So
just.
we
stay.
adjourn.
Just kidding.
No, your motion is out of order because they made it first. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes
Is that next
unanimously.
meeting?
January
Second,
So,
second Thursday.
January 9th.
January 9th?
so ho, 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 and Merry Christmas.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Oh, I'll let you keep going.